Greetings gamers and welcome to another episode. Today I'd like to talk about some guilt-free Game Genie games. What exactly is a guilt-free Game Genie game, you're thinking? It's basically a game where you don't mind cheating when you play it in a certain aspect of the game, and you'd use a Game Genie or something of the like to get the job done while you play the game for whatever reason. Ah yes, the almighty Game Genie. What is this device if you don't know? This device is a game enhancer, they say, but really, it's just a cheat mechanism. You put in passcodes and you can manipulate games to do things that they wouldn't normally do. And some people use them for cheating and some people just use them to play around, almost to code games to do kind of fun, crazy things. But for me, I used it to enhance my experience or lighten the burden of certain games that I found acceptable that I'm going to share with you guys today. Before I get into detail of which games I want to talk about with you, I'd just like to put out a little disclaimer out there that personally myself, I like to pride myself as a hardcore gamer most of the time, that I really don't like using cheats. I like playing the game as is on original hardware, the challenge as it was meant for the time, and just doing my best through the game to see if I can accomplish it the way that was originally intended. But you know what? I have a few games here that I have an exception to my rule, and I'm curious what you guys think about them. So, without further ado, let's take a look at some of these games. Now I know what you're thinking. Battletoads. Super difficult game. Now, you know, I've beaten my fair share of super difficult games, and there's kind of a pattern with all of them. I've beaten Ghosts and Goblins. Super difficult game. I'd put it kind of up there with Battletoads. But you know what Ghosts and Goblins does that Battletoads doesn't do? It's infinite continues. I have no problem using a Game Genie and putting infinite continues on Battletoads. Why? Because time is the most precious thing we have, and to sit there and have to replay the entire stages beforehand that I left off where I died gets a little more time consuming than I care for. So I prefer, just like Ghosts and Goblins, and how I got good at Ghosts and Goblins, is having infinite continues. Sit there and keep trying and trying and trying till you eventually get it. Next we have, oh yeah, the infamous Ghostbusters. Now if you guys have actually seen Eric and I's game night episode in the past, you will notice that we did, pull out the Game Genie. When it comes to that game, it's not so much, hey, give me infinite money or infinite fuel, or not a way that makes the game easy overall. The only code we use to get through that game, which I think is completely acceptable, is not taking any damage on the Zool stairway. If you've ever played this game, you know how ridiculously difficult it is to go up like 20 flights of stairs while pounding on the A and B buttons and trying to avoid some ghosts that you bought some ghost food and it barely helps you for a couple stair levels to get to the top. I have no problem making sure I'm invincible for that portion of the game to get through it. And actually we shelved that one, so I don't think I'll ever be using that code or that game ever again. Hopefully not in the future. But that is just another example of a Game Genie game that I have no guilt whatsoever ever considering when playing with that game. As far as all the other grinding aspects of Ghostbusters, I got no problem. I'll earn the money, I'll make sure the Zool building's ready to go, I'll buy the gear and the right equipment. I have no problems with it. But that stairway section of that game is just straight up broken in my opinion, so I think it's fair game to just get that out of there. And if you're a purist that went through the game and can do it without that code, God bless you. The best for last, guys. I'm talking, oh yeah, you're like, why are we looking at this game? Well, Dragon Warrior, this one is probably the most cheating, I'd say, when it comes to using the Game Genie. Actually, in the Game Genie book, it really recommends to make your own codes. The Game Genie code I used for Dragon Warrior I did a couple years back. I actually live streamed and did the entire Dragon Warrior game. I found out really quick that Dragon Warrior is the most grinding RPG I've ever played in my life. Now, to shorten that process, in one of my streams, I then, gave out a disclaimer and said, hey, I'm putting in a Game Genie code because it's just mindless grinding. And what I did is I increased how much experience and gold I would get by killing a certain monster, like a slime, for example. I think I had it set up that a slime would give me over 200 experience and 200 gold every time that I took a slime out. And that really quickly progressed the game for me, because really when you get to RPGs, it's experiencing the story. The grind is always not that pleasant for me. Now don't get me wrong, I have no problem grinding for a little bit, but in Dragon Warrior, I mean, you're talking, I avoided mindless hours, which I've even proven in the early parts of the stream that I did, that they exist, that you're just going to sit there and grind forever before you get to a decent level to even progress in the story. So that one is kind of on the fence of hardcore cheating, you might say, but you know what? All I'm saying is that one is fully acceptable because it's just saving you time. And you know what? Time is precious to play other games and other experiences. So when it comes to RPGs like this, I almost prefer to have a built-in code or an easy mode for all RPGs to be like, how much do you want to grind in this? And then it'll just exponentially update the experience levels as you progress through a game. My ideal RPG game is, you know, there's going to be a little bit of a grind there, but I don't want to grind more than 15 minutes to, you know, a half hour of getting a character where I need to be to get to the next section. And some games out there, you're just playing for hours on end, and it just blows my mind. I mean, that was fine back when I was 10 years old, and I had nothing better to do with my time, but nowadays, if you want to experience a story of older games, I think it's almost ideal to set up putting in a Game Genie code to enhance the experience as you progress through the game. Well, guys, those are my guilt-free Game Genie games. What are some that you may have? Have you ever even considered doing games guilt-free with a Game Genie just to either enhance your experience or take out a certain burden that you find acceptable to beat a game? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Take it easy.